Shapiro to the Langhorne Station. We're here at an extremely important time. The governor has proposed a historic investment to support the day-to-day operations for SEPTA and all public transportation throughout the Commonwealth. I want to be clear, this is an investment that is absolutely essential for SEPTA. It would help fill a looming budget deficit and allow SEPTA to build on efforts to ensure our system is safe, clean, and secure. We have all worked through a time of unprecedented challenges in the wake of the pandemic, and we are seeing great signs of progress. Just this morning, I received our latest ridership numbers. I'm looking at our board members because I want to make sure they hear this as well. And we are now averaging over 702,000 trips every single day.
That's great.
Yeah. This is our highest post-COVID ridership, and it also highlights how critical a role SEPTA plays in our region, connecting people with jobs, school, medical care, and leisure activities. Our top priority is providing every rider with safe, clean, and reliable public transportation. We are bolstering the ranks of the SEPTA Transit Police Department and enhancing a transit industry-leading social outreach program. We are seeing tangible results, notably a 45% decline in serious crime during the first quarter of this year. And we are implementing new cleaning technologies and practices to improve experience at our stations and on all of our vehicles. With the funding proposed by Governor Shapiro, we will increase investment in safety, security, and cleaning to $72 million next year. This is more than double where we were in 2022. We will add 40 new police officers, hire 100 new cleaners, and double the size of our system safety division. We will continue recruiting frontline personnel so that we can enhance service on all modes of travel. This would include the largest boost in regional rail service post-COVID starting this September, with more midday, evening, and weekend trips. This is just the start of what will be an exciting future for our customers, our workforce, and the communities we serve. And it will ensure SEPTA is positioned to support our region now and in the future. Before I introduce our next speakers, I do just want to recognize who is here today. Obviously, we have Governor Shapiro. I can feel him over my left shoulder here. Representative Joe Hogan, Senator Frank Farry, Senator Art Haywood, Secretary Mike Carroll. We have Commissioner Marian Moskowitz, also the Vice Chair of our board, Commissioner Diane Marseglia, Commissioner Bob Harvey, also one of our board members, and Scott Frieda, one of our board members, and wonderful to see John Cordisco here, also a board member, as well as Chief Lawson from the SEPTA Police, who is with us. We're so supportive to have all of these people together, and we're very supportive to have the legislative delegation that recognizes the importance of transit and that has taken our urgent funding message to Harrisburg. We also were greeted with Representative Sanchez along the ride, and it was great to see him as well. We want to thank everybody for being here today. Again, the SEPTA board, who has supported us along the way and has also made sure we were able to address these challenges that have come our way. We're just very, very pleased again to make sure that everybody is here with one voice so that everyone in Harrisburg and here locally can hear clearly how important this money and an investment in transit across the Commonwealth will help so many people. Thanks again to Governor Shapiro for making public transportation one of the top priorities in the budget proposal. It is the first time that I can remember that a governor has been out on front talking about the importance of investment in transit and has included it in a budget proposal so that we are having these very productive and meaningful discussions today. And I know that our frontline employees who are here as well appreciate it. So with that, I want to thank everybody, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce State Representative Joe Hogan. State Representative.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Hogan. I am currently serving in my first term as a state representative for the 142nd District, which we're currently in. And before serving in this role, I worked for our county's redevelopment authority, and along with our other partners in that economic development space, we work to recruit and retain and attract businesses to our region, especially here in Lower Bucks County. And one of the things we continuously heard from these businesses was how great the infrastructure was here. And it was a lot of different things. It's a deep water port along the Delaware River. It's our freight and rail network. It's our east to west turnpike, and it's our north to south I-95, which was rebuilt in 12 days. So thank you, Governor, for that. But it's also our public transportation, and SEPTA helps a lot of families get in and out of the city. It helps students go to school at our world-class universities, and it also helps a lot of folks go to our world-class businesses. It also alleviates congestion on our roads, and for a lot of people now, they're going to use it to see the MLB's best Philadelphia Phillies play tonight as well. But we also have to plan for the future with public transportation, and in 2026, Philadelphia and our region is going to be host to a lot of different celebrations. We have the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. We have the MLB All-Star Game. We have the World Cup, and we have a lot of other events. So we need to be making these investments now, and I'm looking forward to working with Governor Shapiro, along with my colleagues in both the House and the Senate, so that we can find a responsible, bipartisan solution that's going to fully fund public transit for a long time in the future. So again, thank you to everyone being here. Thank you to the workers that support SEPTA and keep it running every single day. Thank you for what you do. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my Senator, Frank Ferry. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And Governor, welcome back to Langhorne, which has been my lifelong community. It's interesting that you chose this station to be at, because as a college student, I would literally board a train here and commute down to 30th Street Station to attend the University of Pennsylvania. So public transit has served a role in my life, in my education. And if we stay here long enough, by the way, this is also a very important SEPTA bus route on Route 413 here. You're going to see SEPTA buses going up and down this area. The importance, and we really try and explain this to our colleagues from different parts of the state that do not have the benefit of a robust mass transit system, but for Philadelphia and the surrounding counties, it is so important that we keep SEPTA funded. We provide them the funding they need from the state level so that we can keep these buses running and these trains running. It's very impactful in our community. There's a lot of workforce that work in businesses in this community that literally take these trains and take these buses to work at our nursing homes, to work at Wood Services, which is a huge employer in our disability community right up the street. And those DSPs and other workforce members literally rely on mass transit to get to work every morning and every evening. Likewise, students, just like I was a few decades ago, but students, just like I was, literally commute, whether it's to Temple, Drexel, Penn, to the great universities that are in the city of Philadelphia. These suburban students use these same trains to head down to the city. So, Governor, you will have our support in trying to advance increased funding in mass transit. And I do want to capitalize on something else that Leslie Richards mentioned, and that is safety. We have actually in the Senate passed a piece of legislation named for Bernard Gibbons, who was a SEPTA bus driver who was tragically murdered while just working his job. And the bill is actually named in his honor. His wife has actually spoken to me about that, and what it does is it increased penalties for those that interfere with transit workers trying to do their job, as well as those that assault it. So assault those workers. So we want to make sure your workforce is safe. We want to make sure they're able to do the jobs that they're doing. We also want to ensure that they're keeping those passengers safe. So that bill actually has passed the Senate with bipartisan support. I'm hopeful the House will take up that bill and we can ensure that your workforce has the protective measures that they need as well. So we have two things to accomplish for you. We have to protect our transit workers and we have to increase funding. So it is also my honor to introduce a friend of mine who I had the honor of serving with in the House of Representatives, who now has the very vital job and who spent a lot of time in southeastern Pennsylvania working on 95 during that window of time, Secretary Mike Carroll. Excuse me. Sorry, Mike.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike Carroll, the PennDOT Secretary, and it's so great to be here in Bucks County and Langhorne, of course with Governor Shapiro, to celebrate the governor's proposal relative to additional funding for transit. We all know that transit is a critical component of a transportation network across our Commonwealth, and that affects urban, rural, and suburban communities alike. Public transit provides freedom and opportunity for millions of Pennsylvanians while making the Commonwealth more competitive. And that competitiveness is on full display in southeastern Pennsylvania. So much of our Commonwealth's economy is driven by this economic success of Bucks County and the other counties served by SEPTA. That's why I'm proud that Governor Shapiro proposed the first transit increase in over 10 years. And Governor, we thank you for your leadership in that regard. We have a historic opportunity to connect communities, spur economic development, and create opportunity for generations to come. This significant investment will provide reliable public transit that can meet residents' current and future needs. At PennDOT, we understand that transportation is not just roads and bridges. It's also the public transit that connects people to opportunity, their medical appointments, and their communities, all while reducing congestion and air pollution. And public transit isn't optional. Over half of PA's transit users for both fixed route and shared ride in every county say they have no other option other than that transit system in their neighborhood. This would be the first major investment in public transit, as I said, in over a decade. And if enacted by the General Assembly as part of the budget, would make a significant difference for agencies SEPTA and in every agency that serves every one of our 67 counties across this state. To give you a sense of scale, last year, Pennsylvania's transit agencies provided nearly 230 million fixed route trips. Nearly 24 million of those were senior trips, including trips in rural Pennsylvania. Shared ride services provide 4.5 million trips last year, and 2.6 of those were taken by seniors and persons with disabilities. To say that seniors across our state rely on transit would be an understatement. They need it, they use it. And that's why we are here today. You'll hear from others on this investment that's offered by the governor that would help stabilize service. These additional funds will preserve SEPTA's ability to minimize fare increases, as well as contemplate additional route and additional services for folks across this region and the Commonwealth. Clean, safe, and reliable public transit is especially critical for residents, as I said, who rely on getting to doctors and medical appointments across our state. Adequate transit service directly impacts health care for everyone, no matter what county they live in. And I applaud the governor for including this important investment in our state budget. And I have every expectation the members of the House and Senate will give it their serious consideration. And considering the important role that law enforcement has in our lives in Pennsylvania and here in SEPTA, I'm happy to introduce SEPTA Police Chief Charles Lawson to share some remarks with all of us. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Secretary Carroll. I want to thank Governor Shapiro for being here today and for working tirelessly to get us the resources that we need to make our traveling customers safe as they're using SEPTA. Hundreds of thousands of people use SEPTA every day. And this is an exciting time. As Leslie noted, there's a lot of exciting things happening in the way of safety and security on SEPTA. As Leslie noted, the 45% decrease in violent crime on SEPTA. That is a tremendous result of an incredible team that I have behind me. Those decreases include significant drops in areas that have proven stubborn in the past, like aggravated assaults and robberies. We attribute this progress to proactive safety and security measures. Transit police are continuing to increase their presence on trains, buses, trolleys, and that's important. Increasing our presence on vehicles allows our officers to engage with the customer, make them feel safer while they're traveling on the system. Recruitment and retention efforts by transit police have resulted in sustained growth now over 4 straight quarters. Thanks to the salary adjustments made by the authority, we are not only seeing record numbers of candidates for transit police, we're actually having a lot of success now attracting candidates from other police departments. It's the first time I've seen that in my time at SEPTA in 31 years. Thanks to the authority, the board, and Leslie, we will continue to hire more officers, and thankfully, thanks to their efforts, go over budgeted headcount. Our intention is to hire another 40 police officers in the next year. That's great. We've stepped up enforcement of quality of life efforts for those things that drive our customers crazy, things like fare evasion, smoking, open drug use on the system. Transit police enforced more than 47,000 code of conduct violations in the first quarter of this year. 47,000. Last month, SEPTA unveiled new fare gates at 69th Street, full-length fare gates. That's going to make it incredibly harder for people to fare evade. Additional funding would allow us to build on the progress we've made so far and continue to enhance safety and security efforts. The budget that I submitted to the board would allow me to hire, as I said, 40 more police officers. But that request relies on additional funding in the governor's proposal. It would enable the largest ever investments in safety and security and give us the opportunity to better serve our customers and our employees. And I want to close out on a special note as we are wrapping up National Police Week, right? A week where we remember those killed in the line of duty and the folks that they have left behind. We feel incredibly supported by the elected officials behind me and here today. And that effort is led by Governor Shapiro. So, Governor, I want to thank you. You are a tremendous supporter of law enforcement. Your advocacy is known far and wide. It means so much to the things that we're trying to do. I want to thank you for your leadership in the way of safety and security in this city and the state. And it is my pleasure to introduce the Governor of the Commonwealth, Josh Shapiro.
Thanks, Chief. Seriously, thank you. Thanks, Chief. Let me begin by saying a word to the Chief and the women and men who make up the SEPTA Police Department. We not only are thankful to you, and we not only applaud you for the tremendous work you're doing, which has brought crime down by over 40%, but we're very mindful that every day when you put the uniform on and you say goodbye to your loved ones, goodbye to your family, that you may not return. And you go out and you make that sacrifice so all of us can be safe on the rails, on the roads, on the lines. And we are profoundly grateful to you every day. And as the Chief alluded to, I want you to know, I have your back, and you are 13 million Pennsylvanians strong cheering you on every day. Grateful for your work, and we pray for your safety every day. Thank you guys very, very much. Thank you. I'm so grateful to my my longtime friend, Leslie Richards, who her and her team here at SEPTA have really done a really terrific job. And they're not only turning around the system, they're turning around people's perception of the system. And that's why you're seeing the level of ridership increase as it is. And that's why you're seeing the advancements they're making in a number of areas.
They've got a lot of support with them, including members of the board who are here today, John and Scott and Marion, our vice chair. I'm grateful to you for caring as you do for SEPTA, for leaning in and spending the time you do. And it should be lost on no one here that in this time of real polarization in our politics, we're joined by 2 Democratic county commissioners, 2 Republican lawmakers along with Democratic lawmakers, Democrats and Republicans coming together to say what we value, and we value mass transit, to refer to a budget not just as a series of numbers or line items, but to recognize that a budget is a reflection of our values and our priorities. And I think what you're seeing here today and what you've seen throughout this process is there is real bipartisan consensus and there's strong regional consensus that we have to fund not just SEPTA, but we've got to fund mass transit all across Pennsylvania. You know, it was special for me to have the chance to get on the line at the Rydell train station, a place where I got on nearly every day when I used to work as a lawyer in Philadelphia. And it reminded me, I got a chance to kind of take a trip down memory lane. Remind me what our friend here without the sleeves. Barbara. I got the chance to tell Barbara. By the way, I told Barbara in the vest, when we get this passed, we're going to get her some sleeves for that jacket. We'll be able to afford that for you, Barbara. Barbara is an award-winning member of the SEPTA team, but I had the opportunity to tell her about how I used to ride SEPTA with my girlfriend in the 9th grade when we would go to school. And when we were lucky, we got those seats, you know, that flipped, right? We could flip them this way and put our feet up. I know you're not supposed to do that. We even cuddled a little bit. Lori's going to kill me for sharing this with you, but I love SEPTA, and I actually credit SEPTA for helping me find the love of my life, who's now been my wife next week for 27 years and Pennsylvania's First Lady. We rode the rails together to school every day, and it was just awesome for me to think about that, and she's going to murder me for sharing that all with you. But maybe for our anniversary this year, Leslie, you'll let us ride on SEPTA and flip those seats around, and we could snuggle again. Listen, SEPTA, of course, everybody's got their story to tell. You heard Senator Ferry talking about his story riding the rails, going down to Penn when he was a student a few years ago. Everybody's got their story of what that bus, what that train, what that trolley meant for them in their lives. Their ability to get home to their family, their ability to get educated, their ability to get down to a Phillies game or whatever it was. They had the opportunity, thanks to mass transit, to be able to do that important work and to be able to live out those experiences. Just yesterday, I was in Lancaster, a community that looks a little different than Philadelphia, but a community that is also going to benefit from our investment in mass transit. And there we had a senior join us who talked about how he's able to get to an adult center every day for his recreation, to talk to someone about his medications and his healthcare needs, thanks to mass transit there. I share that with you because it's important that while SEPTA is such an important driver here in southeastern Pennsylvania, the truth is we've got mass transit in all 67 counties, and it benefits people, especially our seniors across Pennsylvania. So as I'm seeking this historic investment in mass transit, and SEPTA especially, I want you to know this is an investment that's going to matter all across Pennsylvania. It's going to matter to those riders, to those people trying to get to work, to school, or to those seniors. I think it's also really important to note that even if you're watching this, even if you're listening to this and you say, what do I care? I don't ride SEPTA. Let me tell you why you should care about SEPTA. Let me tell you why you should care about mass transit. Because if we are going to be competitive economically in Pennsylvania, if we're going to be able to put our best foot forward, as the senator alluded to, or pardon me, as Representative alluded to in 2026, when the eyes of the world are on us for our 250th anniversary as a nation, we need people to be able to get to and from where they need to go without adding congestion to our roadway or pollution in our air. Investing in mass transit makes us more competitive. Listen, I'm competitive as hell. I'm recruiting new employers successfully to come here to Pennsylvania. And one of the things they always ask me is, how close are we going to be to that train station, to that bus stop? What's mass transit look like in that community? How can we make sure that our employees have access to the downtown or have access to the community center? So even if you're not a rider, the way I have been and the way so many of you are, we need to invest in mass transit now because it just makes good sense. It makes us more competitive and it strengthens our communities. And right now is the time. For more than a decade, lawmakers, present company excluded, have failed to make the investments we need to make. This is a moment where we need to come together and make these investments. And let me tell you something. What I've proposed is big and bold, but what I've proposed we can afford. Consider this for a moment. The budget that I introduced to lawmakers about 3 months ago comes at a time where we have a $14 billion surplus in our state coffers. That's $14 billion that's been taken from the taxpayers that's sitting in some bank account in Harrisburg. Now, let me tell you something. It should not be a political badge of honor for anybody to say we took more than we needed. I share that with you because now's a moment where we need to invest as a Commonwealth if we're going to be more competitive, if we're going to be more successful, if we're going to be able to get more stuff done. And that's the motto of my administration, GSD, get stuff done. And so this is a moment where we can afford to invest. That's why, again, a budget's a statement of principles and priorities. That's why I am proposing to invest more in public education, more in public safety, more in economic development. And transit is an incredibly important part of economic development and economic opportunity. I believe all Pennsylvanians should have the freedom to chart their own course and the opportunity to succeed. You want them to have opportunity, they got to be able to get to and from their place of work, to and from their family's house, to and from their place of worship. And SEPTA and other mass transit agencies allow them to do that. Now consider this, if the legislature were to adopt my budget as is, a budget that makes these critical investments and cuts taxes, doesn't raise them, cuts them, we'd still have an $11 billion surplus when all is said and done. I share this with you not to nerd out on budget policy, but to let you know that we have the ability to invest. And now is the time where we have to make these investments. And investing in mass transit is a smart approach, and it's common sense, it's bipartisan, and it's going to help us move Pennsylvania forward, literally and figuratively. And maybe, just maybe, it allows someone to meet the love of their life and be married to them for 27 years and build a great life for themselves here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm grateful for all of you being here today. I'm grateful for your advocacy of SEPTA and mass transit. It really matters. We got a lot of work to do over these next several weeks, and we're counting on you to help us get it across the finish line. Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. And with that, Representative Hogan agreed to take all your questions. So anybody in the media? Yeah.
Governor, you've got about a month and a half before the budget deadline. How are
Just
negotiations?
speak up a little bit.
You've got about a month and a half before the budget deadline. How are negotiations going? Are you confident that your transit funding proposal will remain intact at the end? And if I may ask, are you getting buy-in from the surrounding counties in Philadelphia that would also have to kick in?
I think it's important to note, I am quite literally the only governor in the entire country with a divided legislature. The Senate is led by Republicans, the House is led by Democrats. And fun fact, there are only 2 divided legislatures in the whole country, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania legislature and the Congress of the United States. And I think we get a hell of a lot more done than the Congress of the United States. But what we get done requires us to come together, Democrat and Republican alike, around common sense, shared priorities. What you're seeing here today is evidence that we've got bipartisanship around this issue and that it is common sense for all the reasons you heard from a moment ago. It's also critically important to note that while there are so many riders on SEPTA and resources devoted to SEPTA, mass transit investments that I'm proposing will literally benefit all 67 counties. The number of shared rides in rural communities is really impactful. Mass transit agencies, even small ones like Red Rose and Lancaster, where I was yesterday, is really meaningful in communities. And so I think lawmakers understand the importance of mass transit and the importance of coming together and investing in their respective communities. Like anything in these times, it's going to require Democrat and Republican support. We're going to go back and forth. We're going to have to compromise. We're going to have to find common ground. But I feel good about our opportunity to get mass transit in the final package that passes the legislature in a few weeks.
And the surrounding counties?
Governor,
Hang on. Go ahead.
And about the surrounding counties, are you getting buy-in from them?
I will tell you that prior to my budget address and the budget package we put forward, I had the opportunity to speak with your county commissioners here in Bucks County, Chester, Montgomery, Delaware, and of course in Philadelphia, to the mayor and to city council, and made a point to let them know that if we in the Commonwealth were going to take this big step, this really giant step of investing, that we were going to expect to see our local partners do a little bit more. And while I'm not going to speak for them, I could tell you across the board, they made clear that they believe investing in mass transit is a smart and wise investment, and they're prepared to do their part. They can speak to you more specifically about what their part is, but we've had really good buy-in from our local partners, and we're grateful for that.
Yeah, Governor, thank you. The money that you're giving SEPTA, is that specifically earmarked, or can they spend it any way that they see fit?
I'm going to let Leslie Richards address that.
So first of all, it follows the formula that all transit funding follows in the Commonwealth. And also it goes into our operating budget. So it's going to help us, as we already stated, with safe, clean, and secure initiatives. I mentioned the 40 additional police officers. I mentioned the 100 new cleaners. I mentioned doubling our system safety department. And that's where this money will go. Thank you.
Let me I want to kind of put an exclamation point on the question you asked about locals. Understand that when the Commonwealth appropriates this money, there is a local match that occurs. And in fact, if my budget passes as is, SEPTA's portion, it's just SEPTA, will be $161 million of new Commonwealth money, which will trigger a at least 15% match from local authorities, which will add another $24 million. I know locals want to try and do even better than that, and we're grateful for that, but understand that money gets packaged together, and it'll be a big boost for SEPTA and the other transit agencies across Pennsylvania. We'll take one or two more from the media.
Question on another topic, if I may. It's a GSD question.
Yeah. Let me come back. Is there anything else on this? All right, last question. Go ahead.
June 11th is the anniversary of the I-95 collapse. How confident are you, either you or Secretary Carroll, that the highway will be completely reopened and the underpass will be opened and everything will be finished?
Let me say, we got I-95 and traffic rolling again in just 12 days after the experts told us it would take months. And it was thanks to the unbelievable workforce at the Philadelphia Building Trades, who literally worked 24/7. It was thanks to the amazing engineers at PennDOT and the lawyers and others that did their part quickly. And we pushed hard, but we got it done. And I think it proved that here in Pennsylvania, we can do big things. We wanted to get traffic flowing again while we worked on the permanent fix. Motorists don't even realize where they're riding because they can see traffic flowing. I'll let Secretary Carroll talk specifically about the project that's underway now and the completion time. Mr. Secretary?
Governor, thank you. What I would offer is that that the Cottman Avenue ramp from northbound lanes is currently closed. It was closed as a result of the accident. We are working feverishly to get that ramp open and reconstitute 95 with the shoulders necessary that existed prior to the accident. So we're hopeful that we'll have that done in short order. But the people in Northeast Philly in particular are eager to have access with Cottman Avenue's ramp.
Great. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for championing mass transit. We got a lot of work to do. This is the bipartisan team that's going to get it done. I'm grateful to them. I'm thankful to you. And Leslie Richards, thank you for your leadership and the tremendous work that the women and men of SEPTA are doing. And we're going to get you some sleeves, okay? Thank you, everybody.